Rapid Media presents Rapid Media TV.
Scott McGregor here with let's do that again. Scott McGregor here with Rapid Media TV, and I'm in the Jackson Kayak booth with Hobie. Tell me a little bit about the new SUPerCHARGER, the new SUP board from Jackson Kayak.
Yeah, well, you know, Jackson's based on whitewater, and we wanted to introduce something that kind of went into the SUP market in whitewater 100%, you know, just go all in. So, you know, as you know, with whitewater kayaks, they've been tried and true. That plastic is really resilient to running rivers, taking big hits, abrasion resistant, really, it's just a tough material. So we've roto-molded the SUPerCHARGER now, and what this is a true whitewater specific whitewater board, but you can really use it anywhere. I call it stand where you can. If you can jump up on a body of water, you can use this, but it has features to it that make it really good for whitewater. First and foremost, the durability of it. You know, you look at a lot of the other crafts out there, they're kind of made for getting out in the ocean. They're a little bit thinner, a little bit lighter, the materials aren't quite that strong. Since this is roto-molded, very impact resistant. The other thing, when folks look at it, it's roto-molded, but it also has what's called a skin foam construction. So
what's that?
Skin foam is where it's plastic on the outside, but in the final process of making this board, foam is injected to it that expands, so it fills in all those nooks and crannies and gaps and gives it a lot more structural.
It's not air inside, it's foam
exactly.
inside wrapped in plastic.
There's a little bit of air here and there in little pockets of it, but overall it just kind of boom, presses out on it and gives it, you know, a lot more structural integrity for those hits, but also so you don't get that squishy feel. It also allows us to lighten the board up quite a bit. This is going to come in at right about 45 pounds. Now, although that's a little bit heavier maybe compared to a lot of the other boards out there, price is another thing with this. This is going to come in at only $799 retail as compared to other boards that are even close to this that are sometimes $1,300, $1,400, $1,500. A lot of
and you want the durability.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if you were at the outdoor demo, but a canoe went over top of it, I think a glass board, and snapped it in half.
Yeah, sure, and that can happen. I mean, those boards are great, but they're for their purpose. This is for what we dish out on the river, and you know, we all know that it's a rough life on the river sometimes. So beyond that, what we have, it's funny, on a lot of the other crafts, you know, they make flat decks on the top, and you know, if you have a whitewater boat, just like you know, you take some of the Jackson boats that are river runners, they have shedding decks, and that's what this has. If you notice on the bow of this, it's got a slight peak to it, which allows water to shed off the top really quickly. Not only does that bring it to the surface fast, but it also brings it up clean. Rather than kind of fluttering as it resurfaces, it just comes up like a watermelon seed back to the top. Also, its width, I believe it's right around 36 inches. I haven't taken the final measurements.
It's very wide, and you have a big, huge standing area.
That's right. I'm going to hop up here if that's all right. All right. As you take a look, a nice wide standing platform, and that's for good reason. A lot of times on these narrow boards, you know, people kind of look goofy. They're, you know, got jelly leg or Elvis leg as they're going down. On this, it's a really wide, stable platform. So, you know, it gives it that stability so you can, if you're a beginner, feel immediately comfortable and, you know, stable on this thing. But at the same time, if you're an advanced paddler, that stability allows you to run tougher rapids. We've been taking this in Colorado down stretches of the Colorado. The Arkansas River ran the Numbers, which is a class 4 stretch, and I did it without falling off of this.
A narrow board and big wells is no fun.
Yeah, exactly. And also the edges. That was the other thing I was going to address. So, you know, you've got the width, but also the thickness of it. It's got a little bit of girth right there, but also a forgiving edge. So just like in a kayak, you don't want something that when you turn perpendicular to the current that the water hits it and window shades you. You know, window shades occur in kayaks and in stand-up boards. So if you get sideways in the river, which sometimes you've got to make moves to drive across the river, this thing is going to be forgiving. Also, the extra volume. Typically, a lot of boards are designed with salt water in mind for surfing. Saltwater is denser. You know, it actually has more buoyancy. Aerated whitewater is not that forgiving. Everything wants to sink. So by giving it the extra volume and width and just the overall distribution of volume, it just makes it for a great whitewater board. Other features that we did on it that are great: you fall off in the river, it happens. You know, it is stand-up paddleboarding, but there's times that you take those falls. What we've done, I'll set it back down here, is we have a number of different grab handles. The reason being is that if I'm swimming down the river, you know, if I try to grab onto a typical board, there's nothing to grab onto. On this, I can grab a handle I can crawl back up onto it, like literally pull myself back up on top of it. Also for locking it down on top of the car. If I'm doing like a T-rescue for someone or a rescue, I've got grab handles front and back. The handles themselves, just like on the creek boats, is recessed, so if you're going down the river, tree branches won't grab it. Another nice feature I like about this, it's gonna be integrated. Everybody, you've heard of GoPro, right?
Oh yeah, they're here. They're here.
Everyone's
Big
heard,
booth.
right? They're everywhere. This one just has the stick-on mount, but in the versions that are going to be available at the retailer, we're going to have a molded-in recessed screw fitting so that you screw your GoPro into this. It's going to be GoPro ready, just like the rest of the Jackson lineup, so you can record all this cool stuff that you're doing. It's got cam straps on the front as opposed to those kind of, I don't want to call them cheeses, there's those little bungees that a lot of the other brands use that really don't hold things down that tight. With this, kayakers, rafters, river runners, we don't use bungees, we use cam straps. We know that they're a lot stronger, so you can cam stuff down. You can put a dry bag on here, you can put a fishing pole on here, you can put anything you want on the front and it's going to be safe and secure. The last thing, if you guys can see this, that really helps on this is the rocker. If you notice in the front, there's a pretty dramatic kick in the front and also in the stern. The reason for that is surfing river waves. We have all these different river waves everywhere. And what happens is, if you're on a board that really doesn't have much rocker, if you've ever tried...
Plow right in and curl like crazy.
Totally, you got this long board. They make long boards to get their volume, so we're able to pack that volume in a smaller package. So when you kick up that bow, just like in a kayak, when you go down and you start to surf it, you got that bow out, but at the same time, if you have to really get it up quickly, you can step on that stern that brings it up, but also that stern really locks in on those smaller waves. And then of course, on this version, we have the twin fin, but in the final version, it's gonna be a tri-fin setup, thruster setup. What we've discovered is we brought this here for a whitewater board, which it excels at, but all of our retailers have been like, oh, we want them for the lakes and the ponds. Our fishing team's like, oh, that would be the perfect board for throwing in the bed of my truck to go fishing in the flats. So what we're gonna do, we'll have a center fin for it as well, so you can take the two side bite fins out and put one long fin in, so this thing will just track in a perfectly straight line. It is the true durable and versatile. I call it Dursatile, and it's affordable. It's going to be a great way to get out on the river.
Great, so this is a prototype. Finally, when's the next one going to be ready to go? When can we buy these?
This one is actually a final, but we're tweaking it. We have the mold back. It's almost ready. I'd say people can expect to see it at their Jackson Kayak retailer probably in about a month or so.
Great. Thank you very much, Hobie.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Scott.
Scott McGregor with Rapid Media TV, hoping you paddle forever.
More about Rapid Media's print and digital magazines, International Paddling Film Festival, on-water events, and online store. Visit rapidmedia.com.